Welcome to our channel Lightning Vision. Today Mother will talk about death. So she will explain to us what happens when we go on the other side. So, hello Mother.
Hello Natalie.
Welcome. So we were all ears to listen to this subject that is most interesting.
And for many people frightening also. Yes, well, when they submitted this subject to me, I said, well, it's quite a challenge because it's not an easy subject. Many people, and now with the coronavirus, we live that very strongly. Many people have, in a conscious or unconscious way, fear for death. And when I analyzed this more precisely, I said to myself, it's probably because for many in nowadays modern world, death is something like an end, an absolute end to existence. And then people get afraid because they ask themselves somehow, well, if there's an absolute end to this existence, what does that mean, that if there's nothing? And if there is something, that's even more frightening because they told you there is nothing. So this big questioning about what is, once we die, what can we expect? I think that's the most frightening question with which modern man is fighting in himself. And as long as you are young, you don't have to think about it because you're full of life, you have still, you think, and in many cases that's true, you have still a long future ahead of you. So why would you worry about something like that? Unless you are chronically ill, or you have a partner who's ill, or you have to face death in your family in one way or another. But you can say normally man does not think a lot about death unless he approaches death seriously himself, either through sickness or because the age brings you to closer to the door that separates this reality, and now I already pronounce it, from another. I think if we as modern people, if we think about death, the first thing we have to do is to separate this physical reality from what might attend us in the other world. Because it's true that there are two worlds. It's our physical existence in which we are very concentrated on everything that is visible, that we can touch, that we can hear, and our physical body with which we are very identified. And that makes the question a big question and quite fearful. How can you imagine living in this physical, visible world, tangible world? How can you make yourself an idea of what it could be not living in a body anymore? What kind of existence can modern man expect on the other side of the veil? In a reality, we absolutely have no idea about that. Because we have been taught for ages that this physical existence, what you can see and touch, that is reality. So if you die, nothing is left. Telling somebody that perhaps this is not the truth or not the whole truth is already frightening. Is almost as frightening as death itself. Because that means that if there's another reality that is waiting for you on the other side of the veil, when you step through the door of death, that means immediately that you have to take another look at this reality also. And those questions I think modern man avoids. So it's not only having fear for death because you don't know what's waiting for you. It is, I think, also, and perhaps in the first place, if you start analyzing or making an investigation about what might be there after you have died, you come back to this reality and you see that perhaps this reality is not what you think. So if we're talking about death, I would say we're also talking about life, about this life, how we see it, how we lead it, and what's important or not important in it. If you look at other cultures, you will see that the approach of death was not the same as it is nowadays. In Eastern cultures, death has, for over the ages, always has been part of life. Eastern cultures do not have this fear for death. It is part of their daily existence, because there is still this souvenir, still this knowing that life is more than what we can see. So because Eastern cultures are more familiar with the idea that the physical, visible existence is not the only existence. There's also another existence that we cannot see with our physical eyes, but that is real in another way. Because they believe in that, they know it from inside. They are not afraid of that. And there you see that death, passing over, everything that surrounds funerals is not lived in the same way. It's more a sacred ceremony, a moment in life when you come back to yourself, to the essential part of yourself and of life. They can even be joyous for the dead person, that he could pass over, that he has left this world and is now, as they see it, in a better reality. Whereas as you look at the Western cultures, we have had in the past a tradition of burying our death in a more sacred way. For 2,000 years, the way people treated their death was far more in connection to the existence of a higher world than nowadays. If you think about Vikings, if you think about the German people, if you think about the Saxons, all those tribes, all those the Celtic people, they have walked on the European grounds. The Indians in Northern America. I think all the cultures that are now part of the Western world, but that were there in the past, have had their own traditions around death and burial, and they showed a relationship with the other world based on faith, on the sacred sense, on the idea that life was somehow going on after death. They did not have the feeling that a dead person was completely gone, forever lost. It was the idea a bond is still there that goes over life and death, and even the idea of reincarnation was still there in their consciousness. So that was not the end, not the absolute end. But that changed for over the last 2,000 years gradually, and that went together with the intellectual and scientific development, which is, as I've already said in other videos, not a problem in itself. But if the intellect gets mixed up or tries to interfere in another kind of reality, and then tries to analyze in a scientific way, but it's not science that is the problem, but the intellect cannot analyze in completely the same way this other existence that we're talking about when we talk about an existence after death. I mean, this physical existence, this physical reality, is a reality based on its own laws and functioning. That's also the case for the existence that we call the reality after death. And that's what I will talk about in the second video. Those two realities are connected, but do not function completely in the same way. And that is the real problem that modern man is fighting with. We have our analytical, scientific thinking, which is perfect for this reality, this visible, tangible reality. But we cannot treat these unseen realities that we go in after death in exactly the same way. What is the same is we can analyze it very clearly and be very mathematical, and still the laws are not completely the same. When we can accept that truth and start dealing with this other reality in a more profound and serious way, then perhaps we will get more knowledge about an existence after death. But we cannot, as I already said, treat it in the same way as we treat this life. And that is for the moment the biggest problem in this issue about life after death.
Okay. Thank you. I look forward to listening to part 2. Thank you, Mother.
No, thanks.
So please don't forget to subscribe and write us your comments, and we'll see you very soon. Have a good day.
Wherever you go, you're in my thoughts. Your spirit is free, although you go your way. Follow the path straight on, don't look aside. And at the end there'll be shining a light. And at the end there'll be shining a light. If you may doubt sometimes, He will ease your mind. Wipe all the tears away, leave it all behind. Wherever you go, each step is new. Think of what's still to come, of all that can be done. Think of all that is still there waiting out for you. We are like pearls, pearls in a chain. We